everybody, for another episode of Trade Talks podcast, Blue Collar Podcast, hosted on our YouTube channel, Glass Guys. We have a very, very special guest today. This guest is in a field that when we first started doing social media, we were actually worried that this position within the company was going to shut us down, and that's HR, and it's Melissa. Melissa, will you properly pronounce your last name? Because Jay and I had a debate about that.
Severance, just like severance pay.
See, I was right.
Which is very ironic. I said, there's no way it's that serendipitous.
Yes.
That's awesome.
It fits me well with what I do, so I'm very lucky.
That's so perfect. So that's your real name. That's not like Tom Cruise. It's not a made-up name.
No, that's my original name.
Can you give Jay and I and our listeners a little, 25-cent resume of who you are, where'd you come from?
Absolutely. My name's Melissa Severance. I have my own company. It's called Inspire Big Dreams Coaching and Consulting. So I do executive consulting. My services consist of corporate training, executive leadership coaching, and HR consulting. So kind of three of my passions I get to work with all the time in my new business. Been working in this area as an entrepreneur for the last 5 years almost. This summer I'll be celebrating 5 years in business, which is great.
That's a huge, Riley, go around.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
5 years is a, from what we've studied in business, is a pivotal year.
Yeah.
Because I think, is it the Chamber of Commerce says 90% of businesses in the first 2 years have a 90% chance of failure. Then it jumps up even higher. Is it because of potential turnover, cash flow cycles?
I think there's a lot of things. I think you have to keep creating yourself and be innovative, have creative ideas. At first, I was just going to do executive and leadership coaching, and then I expanded to do more HR consulting because that's what I did for 15 plus years of my career. And then I always did trainings at my old corporate company, so I figured why not do that as well. Started speaking for free at some of the organizations, and now I speak all the time. 2023 was like the year of speaking for me. I spoke everywhere and trained everywhere. So it was really great. I have a big library of content that if you come to me, I can probably help with any pain points and needs that your company might have. So.
Wow. What is executive coaching look like?
Sure. It looks different for everyone, but it's basically trying to elevate their leadership for themselves and their team, depending on what they need to work on. Some people need to work on their communication style, really engaging with their team, motivating, inspiring them. Some people need more focus and clarity in what they're doing. Some people have work-life balance issues. They need to get that in line. Some people need more executive presence. So I customize and work with them on every area that they might need to get them to be a better leader. So, and it's a long process. It's not going to happen overnight, but we start with some assessments of really getting them to know themselves and be self-aware of what they really need to work on. We also ask for feedback from people that they work with, that they would feel comfortable with me talking to, so they can get details that maybe they're not getting directly from them, for me to help them work on those areas. And then we're really just doing reflective thinking and probing them to really figure out solutions within themselves and bring it out with powerful questions and leadership exercises and a lot of discussion and practice of different practices of leadership that they should be doing with their team or exhibiting when they're in a meeting or strategizing in general. And so there's a lot of components to it, but in most cases, it's really just reflecting on who you are and making sure you're showing up as your best self in life and, in the workplace.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Do you have any leaders that you kind of look up to, like that you say, like when you're training, or maybe you had someone say, I want to be like, this is the pinnacle of leadership, like a Jack Welch or somebody to this effect?
A Keith Dobman.
Yeah.
Of course,
Thanks,
of course,
baby.
of course. Well, there's so many, but it's so funny. A lot of my trainings, I put videos of Simon Sinek. I really love, a lot what he says about leadership. And, I was just looking for videos on empathetic leadership because I have a new training on that. And he just has so many great things. So him, Adam Grant, and Brene Brown are my three top favorites that I go to and see what their content is out there. But there's so many people out there that have amazing leadership that they're the three off the top of my head because I'm always looking up and seeing what they've done in certain areas that I'm training on, or having some issues with a client on to see, what they say about that topic, or, a strategy that maybe I could incorporate in to help with my clients.
That's smart.
Yeah.
You mentioned issues with the clients. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously there's challenges, I would call them, right? What aspect do you find more of those quote unquote issues? Is it the corporate training or executive training, or is the HR?
Ooh, there could be in both areas. The great thing about coaching is one-on-one. So you're just working with one person. You can get really deep in it. In HR, sometimes it's an issue of the whole firm. And you have to change different policies and procedures, or, figure out how to really change that culture to really have an impact for everyone. So both of them, I think, are amazing and are needed, and have a big impact, but it just depends on what the company needs. They might need that succession plan, that amazing leader that's going to step up and be like the next CEO that's not ready, and they need that executive coaching. Or they might have an issue with their culture and people are leaving. So both of them need to be addressed, because we need a future and we also need the present to be, going well and striving as well to the future.
When you're doing the executive training, is it common to see a lot of executives hamstringing themselves from moving forward because of their pride?
Yeah, back in the day, coaching was more seen as, like there's a problem. You have, maybe you're going to be out the door. But now it's for, high achievers, people that we want to get to the next level. And we have to think about it in a different way. So some leaders, when you go to them and say, hey, we want to pay for executive coaching for you, they might be hesitant and say, think about them, like what's wrong? Are they, going to let me go? Or am I not performing well? But in most cases, it's because they see such a bright future for them.
It's an investment.
Absolutely.
I can see why. I think human beings are cynical, like by nature. I think we were designed that way, just stay alive.
Yeah.
But it's interesting how society has probed us to think, oh my God, they're sending me a coach. That means they're going to fire me. It's like, on the contrary, the businessman wants to preserve profit. He's willing to invest profit to make you better. It's actually the opposite effect of it. It's a good thing.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's a gift. It's just like feedback's a gift, right? So it's like, we want to help you to make sure you're better. We want to tell you this because we want you to be better. Not many companies really invest in coaching. It's mostly bigger companies. Smaller companies usually go with the training route because they can, with their low budget, affect more people with one training opportunity. But I know training is effective, but you need to reinforce it. And coaching can help reinforce training and behaviors that we want to continue to have with our people. So
a lot of young entrepreneurs going from that 2 to 5 year window and maybe are starting to plateau because they're like, the business isn't moving along. And after they beat their head against the wall long enough to say, you know what, maybe I do need to get some coaching.
Yeah.
What are some of the common things that you see most young entrepreneurs not do? They haven't matured with their business acumen to realize the importance of it. Like you mentioned empathy earlier.
Yeah.
What are some of the common things that they're not doing?
I think if they're younger and they haven't really managed people and then they're having a team now, I think they are struggling with engaging and inspiring their team members and keeping them on board and helping them with their professional growth to the next level, because they're probably worried about running their own company, figuring out what they're going to do next, how to get revenue in. And sometimes we forget about the people, and we need to make sure that we remember them, because all businesses, humans are the ones that are running it, and they're the most important asset we have. So we have to put our attention to it. So
Not even a close second.
No.
It's the most important.
The most important, yes, totally. So I think that's kind of a key component that I see with entrepreneurs. Also because, the entrepreneurial mindset, everybody wants to do everything and start different projects. And I think sometimes we do too much and we're not focused enough, or we don't give it enough time to see if it's going to really go to the next level and make small changes along the way to really be successful. So I see that sometimes. Sometimes they need accountability. They love the ideas, but they need somebody to execute. So they got to find that person that's going to really help them execute to get to the next level as well too. So there are a few things that I see, but every entrepreneur is different. Every person, executive, director is different as well too. They all need different things. We all strive and have some strengths in some areas and have opportunities in others. that's just the way life goes. We all want to just continue to get better, and learning, training, and coaching just gets you there.
I agree.
You mentioned the human element.
Mm-hmm.
We're starting to see a lot more in all businesses,
Yeah.
but we're starting to see it even in HR, for example, and I'm sure even
Yeah.
in executive coaching, AI starting to take center
Mm-hmm.
stage. And we talk about this a little bit.
Yeah,
What have you used it for anything? Have you found
sure.
uses, and is it more helpful or harmful that you feel
I
with
know
your
a lot of people are scared,
Yeah.
but I think it's scarcity mentality. I love ChatGPT. I'm using it every day. I enhance my communications, my even emails, social posts. I'm using it for a lot of things on the business side. In HR, I think they're a little bit more hesitant than maybe me as an entrepreneur. But I've put trainings in my HR Society, HR Collier, because I know it's important. We need to make sure that we're accepting it and bringing it into our organizations. On the recruiting side, it can help with job descriptions. There's a lot of processes that it can help with. It can help with training material. I sometimes, if I don't know what I want to do on a certain topic, I'll ask them some ideas on what I could do with this topic, and it helps me think of fresh ideas or a different approach that I didn't even think about. So I think there's so many ways we can use it. And, there's a lot of unknowns with it. And I think that's kind of the problem. And sometimes HR are more risk averse. But I think that's why I wanted to really put Disrupt HR out there, because the organization there is all about innovation and ideas and, going after things like AI or other processes or ideas that we, haven't done yet. And we need to challenge ourselves to do so.
I love the AI. I know a lot of people are scared of it, but like it's going to get rid of jobs. Don't forget, you still have to be creative enough to tell it what to do.
Yeah.
And it's not as easy as just typing in one sentence, because you could change that sentence 3 different ways and get 3 different answers.
Exactly.
So it just helps enhance everything and takes a lot of the minutia of the stuff. It just makes it easier.
Yeah, absolutely.
What is Disrupt Naples?
Yeah. So it is a chapter that I brought into Naples that I'm really excited about. It's all about disrupting the future of work, disrupting leadership, disrupting HR, and really bringing Southwest Florida community to the next level in their leadership development. It's a chapter, a national organization. I did speak at a Philadelphia event. And at first I thought it was a full hour event that I was going to be speaking on a topic. And then they came back to me and said, oh, we only do 5-minute presentations. And I'm like, what? And I used to live in Philadelphia before I relocated down here 3 years ago. And I was going to come up to see my family anyway. And I'm like, all right, I'll give this a shot. Let me try this. And I did it. And it was one of the most challenging presentations I've ever did because of the format. It's 5 minutes. It's 20 slides, 15 seconds each. So you have to be timed, you have to be on, you have to be compelling in 5 minutes, and really give some really compelling, inspiring information and informative information at the same time. I fell in love with the format. So I came back and I reached out to the owner and I said, do you have a Naples chapter? And she said, no. And right away I just signed up, and I did that in October 2022. And then I had my first event in April 2023. I did 2 events last year. I'm going to have 2 events this year. And I expanded it to having a workshop that I'm going to do on February 1st with a deeper dive.
And before we get into the workshop, I went to one of these events.
Yeah.
It is I say TED Talk, and I don't mean that disrespectfully. It's just I've seen a lot of short kind of keynotes from people that have inspiring things or takeaways that you can actually do. So it's 2 intermissions. So they have a group of 6 or 7 people doing 5 minutes each. And the cool thing about that is if there's somebody's speech that you're not really into, you only got to wait 5 minutes.
Yeah.
However, if it's somebody that's really good, it's like a good magician's always leaving you more. Like there's kind of like a hook. And so it's fast paced, a great networking event. I was thoroughly impressed. It wasn't what I thought it was going to be. I was blown away.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad you really loved it. I hear a lot of great things, and people are coming out for it. My first event, I had over 215 people. Second one, 275. So people really love this format. It's exciting. It has a lot of energy. You get a lot out of it. So the last event, I had 17 speakers, 5 minutes each, and the topics were a variety. I had some entrepreneurs speak, HR leaders. I had a CFO, a director of strategy, all different levels, and some just speakers that I know are amazing, that have really great messages that I know everybody need to hear.
And what is the workshop all about?
Yeah. So as you said, people were like, I want more on some of these topics. So I took some of the speakers that, all of them are amazing and I love all of them, but I picked a select few for a few topics that I know I wanted to really concentrate on. And I have them elaborating a little bit more on their topics. So instead of 5 minutes, they're going to do 30 minutes. So it's a deeper dive, but it's still not a full hour or 45 minutes. I still want you to get quick hitting information, but just a little bit more deeper into that. So I'm doing kind of a workshop setting. We have 5 speakers for 30 minutes, and we're also starting off with a panel on retention of talent and future of work.
Oh, wow.
Which I think is going to be great. I think they're both topics that are we need to be aware of. We need to know about the AI, and we need to know how to take care of our people so we can continue to grow in our businesses.
So I presume you picked the panel?
I did.
And the type of business people that they are, did you cover a wide variety of niches, if you will, or is they kind of all from the same?
Absolutely. I did Marguerite, she's from Gardner. She does executive coaching for their HR leaders across the U.S. So she has a lot of great knowledge. I also picked Nick Gerber from One Digital, since he has a lot of background on innovative benefit options and how we can really retain our people in that way, and seeing what other companies are doing to really attract talent and keep them there.
Retain them.
And then I also added Lori Kleiman. She also does HR. She has her own company called HR Topics, and she's a big trainer in everything HR, but she usually works with more smaller companies, who has an HR department of one. So different perspective. You have a big Gardner, and then you have, somebody as well on the HR side that's, working with more small companies. So I thought that would be a nice variety. And then Nick works with small, medium, and large firms. So I think together that'll be a really great amount of knowledge getting out there on those topics.
Do you personally, when you're doing the hiring or anybody on this, work with hiring for in the trades in particular? Because we're seeing a massive supply and demand issue, which is really good for business, but you're kind of handicapped on how you can grow that business, obviously based on your talent.
Yeah.
And so we've come up with some ideas to help retain talent, but I'm interested to see what the market is doing for trades as far as recruiting.
I'm recruiting. Recruiting's a tough thing right now, especially in Southwest Florida. I think everybody's having a hard time finding great talent. And we have to do a lot more than we ever had to do. And I think that's the big thing on recruiting, is doing all different ways of trying to find talent. It's not going to just be one magic bullet. We need to have multiple things going on at once to really find them. And we have to always be recruiting all year long, even if you're not looking for someone, because you might want to hire them earlier than you expected, or you might, if you're not doing that, you're going to be waiting a long time to get that right person in the door.
Bill would always do that. He would find somebody and then make a position, because he's like, man, it's easier for me to create a position than it is me get the position and then find the right person.
Exactly.
That's right.
Yeah, because at the time you need that person might not be available. And especially here, a lot of people, it depends on the type of position, right? The lower level positions are a little hard to fill here because it's very expensive to live here in Naples, in this area. So you're sometimes seeing them leave or wanting to work in Fort Myers, or have to commute to Naples here. So it makes it really a lot difficult. But I know there's a lot of organizations trying. Everybody's trying a little bit of everything to really help with that problem.
You mentioned the location and the expense of living here. What other things do you attribute to this struggle with finding employees?
Yeah, I think a lot of it's due to people want to work remote and just be able to do gig work or have more flexibility. We got to experience it during the pandemic. I know in Florida, it was more open, but in other areas you didn't. And they, for the first time ever, got to work remotely. And even in Florida, a lot of companies were home remotely for a while. And that taste of it really got people interested in having that work-life balance and being home with their family and not commuting in. And I think sometimes they're saying no to work that you have to go in for and trying to look for something more flexible, and able to work at home.
Go ahead. Sorry.
And I'm just saying, and I think every company wants us back in the office because you do have more innovation, more productivity when everybody's together, So it's a push and pull right now happening with that.
Do you find that people that are wanting to work in these work from home positions, do you find that employers are getting more production or less production from them?
I think it depends on the person. I know a lot of people that do amazing work at home, and sometimes it's less distractions at home for them than in the office because like a lot of areas are like open cube areas, and some people work better with quietness. I'm one of those people. If I'm really creating and writing, I can't have a lot of noise around me. So I love working, I live by myself, but I love working at home because it's easy for me. Now, if I had kids running around, it might not be the place for me. I might be going to the office all the time. So I think
we go to work to relax. For sure.
A lot of people go to the office to get away from some of the distractions in their life,
Okay, but let's put a little, I'm not going to be so straight up and down with this. I want to push back a little bit on this.
Yeah.
When you say people want to go home more because of work-life balance, but you're supposed to be working during the day. So when you say it's better work-life balance, because I hear that a lot.
Yeah.
It tells me, well, wait a sec. If it's better work-life balance, that means you're probably not working as much.
Yeah.
Now, are you getting enough done so the company's continuing to move forward and maybe the boss says, you know what? If they're happy, we're still making money. Fuck it, let's do it. But you're right. You lose that culture component because you're not building camaraderie. You're not rapport building all day long. Like that component's gone.
Yeah. I think the best mix is a hybrid if you can do that, but not all places can do that. But to your point of thinking that they might not be working, I think people are working longer days. So they are integrating their personal stuff within there. So they might work out in the morning, in the mid-morning, start working when they wake up, work out, then go back to work. During their lunchtime, they could do the dishes or do some laundry. They're able to do some of the stuff that they're not able to do if they're at the office that gives them that work-life balance or makes them feel good about their life. And then sometimes there's a long commute that has to go with it. Sometimes, I don't know about Naples, but in Philadelphia, I was driving an hour there and an hour back. So that's 2 hours I got back in my life to do something else.
Per day?
Yeah, per day.
Well, Naples, you're driving an hour to go 5 miles.
Yeah, so maybe, that's frustrating in itself, right? So you're so close, but yet so far away.
I've spent enough time in Miami to know Naples isn't that bad. Like it could be a lot worse.
You do have a point there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, we'll be hovering above everybody before you know it, like little space cars or something, drones.
You mentioned the thought that they might be working longer.
Yeah.
One of the things that he and I talked about recently was this trend towards a 4-day work week. Are you seeing a lot of that, and what are your thoughts on it?
I personally love it. I think people do need more time to, spend with their families and, people are burned out. So that extra time would be great, but I don't think people will use it. I think people would work. I think our phones have let us work 24/7. And I said longer because I think people are taking breaks and checking their phone. Like we all check our phone late at night and respond to emails. Sometimes I try to work with my clients, put boundaries on that so they have that flexibility and they're not missing things they need to, go see their kid's soccer game. Like sometimes people will miss that because they're in the midst of all the work. They need to put on their calendar they're going to be out of here and actually leave and go do that. So I think it's each individual person is doing it differently, and some people are able to put boundaries and some are not. And I think companies are trying to work with their employees to help with burnout, to keep them engaged and want to stay there. And that's why the 4-day work week is coming out for a lot of companies. I think it's really great. They probably stagger it, so some people are working certain days and other people aren't, so they can still have their work and function as an organization. But there's ways of doing that I think could be very successful, and it'd be nice for people to have that option. But some people might not want that option. Some people might want the 5 days.
Yeah, not me. There's an old biblical saying, I believe, Jay, that you informed me. And by the way, the only church I go to is St. Mattress. Is the idle hands are work of the devil. Like too much time off for me creates anxiety. I don't feel like I'm being productive. I usually find myself getting in trouble.
Yeah.
But I have no problem working 4/10s.
Yeah.
I could see the allure to it. I guess it'll depend on the business and the staffing because, like you said, you got to break it up to cover your hours. But then people are like, well, I don't want that schedule. I want that schedule.
It's a lot of things we do on the engagement side does cause more work, but it's worth it because our employees stay and our employees are happy.
Yeah.
And when they're more happy and motivated, they do better work and more work. So they will pick up the phone after hours. They will send that email for better customer service.
All right, let's
even if
ask
it's-
this question.
Yeah.
The email question, because we talk about this all
Oh,
the time.
yes.
I agree with work-life balance for individuals. If that's what you want, because one could make the argument like, okay, I'm home at 5, but now I'm just sitting here. I'm not happy because I know I got to get back to this email. So like, are you really there with your family? So I get that.
Yeah.
However, email, what is your thought on when you leave the office on having auto reply? What's Melissa's thought? If you're coaching a leader and they say, should I have auto reply?
If they are definitely not going to reply that night and they put a boundary, and I think it's great. Or you don't have to even do that. You could just have everybody have the philosophy of, hey, in the morning, I get to it after 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock, whatever it is. I don't know if we always have to put this out of office out. I think we're so used to responding in 2 seconds. Do you think anything bad of somebody if they don't respond that night and they respond in the morning?
No.
No. Like, I think all of it's us worrying about our perception to everyone else and thinking we have to do things, 5 minutes from when we get the email.
I do think negatively as a consumer, if I was wanting to get coaching services from you and we had been going back and forth and I'm ready to pull the trigger and I send you an email, I want to go through it and it says, I go ahead, I want to do the coaching. It says, I'm out of the office. Because we've been so programmed to be able to buy and do, when I'm ready to spend money, if it's anything other than, okay, great, thank you, it kind of triggers me. I'm not going to lie, it would trigger me.
Yeah.
Like, holy fuck, I'm about to give this person money to do coaching. I can't even get a hold of them. Like, what kind of coaches? That's how I would think. That's my brain.
Yeah.
Do you see it that way?
I can see that. Maybe
He's more patient, so he'd be willing to, well, let's give it till tomorrow.
Well, that's where the two of these things kind of intertwine because, as Melissa mentioned, if you leave the auto reply off and as long as you reply the next day, people are more patient with that. But like to your point, you said the auto reply immediately is on there. Well, now you're like, well, what the fuck am I going to do? And you're already thinking, okay, this is someone who's supposed to be helping me. So now what happens if I have a situation where I need immediate help?
That's how my negative brain thinks. And that could be furthest from the truth. Maybe you're having a baby, like who knows what's going on.
Yeah.
But my brain will go to the negative.
Yeah. So it's funny for coaching, I do have in there anytime coaching. If you have a question or you need something, you can reach out to me and I'll get back to you. I don't know if I put a time frame on it, but I will get back to you as soon as I possibly can. If I'm in a meeting or something like that, I can't, pick up the phone. But
I
if
think
get
that's
text,
good that you do that. Sometimes people just need just a little bit more to push them over that fence, and that's it.
Yeah, and not many people take that on all the time. Like they're not calling me all the time. It's just when there's something important and they want my opinion or they want to talk through something, we move up our session or something along those lines. So, but I think everybody has different work-life harmony and everybody has different expectations on emails. And
we
responding.
had a job where we were purchasing wine racks from a company, and we finally got the go-ahead. So now we're placing the order, but we're like, maybe we should we'll stick with this company. So we sent the order. We got an auto reply. The auto reply said, I'll be out of the office for a week. Contact my coworker. Here it is. So him and I sent a separate email. We get another fucking auto reply. Then we said, that's it. We're using the other company.
Wow.
So it was, I think there's uses for it. If you're a person that is communicated well over the years with your customers, like when I'm out of the office, I don't do anything. Yeah. Like you kind of set an expectation. But this one, I don't know. I don't like the auto reply. I just assume you don't answer until the next time you're in front of the computer because then I'm not thinking.
I think this particular situation, it goes down to communication. Mm-hmm. They didn't communicate with their coworker, therefore it created a problem.
That's a problem for me.
With the consumer. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, communication is the biggest issue. So, and I think everybody likes to be communicated differently. So, sometimes in my coaching, I'm asking them, have you asked, your people how they like to be communicated? Did they want you to go through text, email, Slack, or, something else? Everybody's using, different things now to communicate. And do they have a preference? Like, I still love calling people, but most people don't want to pick up the phone. So I have to text more. I know I'll get a faster response if I do that. But sometimes I want to talk because it's just so much easier for me, especially if I'm talking to like somebody about, like, say, marketing or something. Like, I just don't know how I want my words, but I want to talk through it.
You want to give it more context.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So certain things I do like to talk more, but not everybody likes to do that. They want emails, they want text, they want the fast communication. So figuring that out with everybody you work with makes everything so much easier. And sometimes you might think you're ignoring somebody, but they're not. They have boundary. They're with their kids at that time, or they're eating dinner at that time, or something along those lines. And just understanding everybody's work style and how they want to be communicated with can be a game changer for a relationship or for the company.
So I think in a new relationship, whether it's with an employee, team member, or even vendor, right out of the gate, there should be some dialogue regarding how we communicate to each other, what happens if someone's not available, what can you expect? Maybe just being aware of these dynamics, if anybody takes that away from this, to be aware of, to clearly communicate how you want to be communicated to and how often and when.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I like to FaceTime people. I'm a big FaceTime. People are like, why are you FaceTime? Nobody FaceTime. I FaceTime everybody for the most part. You haven't got caught with a FaceTime
No,
yet,
I
but
haven't
you
yet.
will.
I haven't yet.
You will.
We can't hide behind things with a FaceTime.
No.
Yeah, I agree. I want to see the affect for context.
Yeah.
Especially if I got something good to tell them. I want to see them get excited.
Exactly. I love that. It's just like Zoom. Everybody turns their cameras off. So there's some companies that make you put it on because they want to see that you're present and paying attention.
100%.
Like I've always have, but I love seeing people and I want them to see me as well too. So, but I'm on a lot of meetings where people are not, and I understand maybe they're driving, which I'm surprised they're still on a Zoom, but they are. People are trying to fit things in their schedule at all different times. But if you're just home and you're working, that shows maybe lack of engagement by your people if they're not putting a Zoom on.
I agree.
So.
As long as you're not on with Jeffrey Toobin.
Oh my God, yeah. Make sure you have your clothes on when you do the Zoom.
Yeah.
So let's step back a little bit to your former career, so to speak, in HR. We've all seen some crazy things, and it's like once you see something, you think it can't be topped, and then it gets topped.
We got some stories.
Man, I just saw something actually over the weekend which had to create. We're considered an HR nightmare.
Yeah.
But I saw something over the weekend that had to create an HR nightmare because this was the person that did this was actually the owner. So
Wow.
if you're in that HR position, it's got to be very, very difficult. So I saw the Carolina Panthers were playing the Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't know if you saw this.
Team owner. This is a good question to ask.
The team owner, David Tepper, was in his suite. In front of the suite were some Jaguars players. This is the Panthers owner. There were some Jaguars fans there. And, of course, Carolina lost again, and he was pissed, and he took his whole drink, and he just dumped it on the fans and took off.
Yes, I heard about this. I did not see the video, but
So
I
go
think
ahead.
we're talking about.
What would you do in that? If you were the HR person for Carolina Panthers, I mean, especially now that you also have that executive coaching skill too, like how would you handle that?
Yeah,
How do you approach that situation?
Yeah, I don't know if he did it on purpose or not, but
Oh, no,
yeah,
he did it on
yeah,
purpose.
okay.
It was
okay, good. It was
yes.
like
Oh,
he
yeah.
wanted.
It was-
Like it wasn't just he was angry.
He took a step
wanted
towards
to.
that.
He wanted to put it on the fans.
1,000%.
It was
Wow.
like you see the woman that goes up to the guy in the bar and goes, "You bastard!"
You
Wow.
bastard!
Wow. Well, on the HR side, he's the owner, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Definitely would need.
Melissa walks into his office.
He needs an apology right away that needs to go out.
Public.
Public apology. And then I also think he needs some training on, anger issues and different things along those lines that needs to be addressed. In some cases, in some companies, if he's not the owner, he would probably be let go as well because it might be too much. Because it was on video out there. You need to make sure you do something to show an example that kind of behavior is not tolerated, and it shouldn't be tolerated to anybody.
Now, what happens if the Carolina fans go, you know what? I love that our owner is he pouring it on his own fans, or was it the opposing team fans?
team fans.
Opposing
Okay,
team.
so you got the owner of your team that's in the cellar, but yet he's he's kind of got this. He's a disruptor.
Yeah.
It says, "Oh, you're going to talk to me at our football stadium like that? Fuck you!" And he throws the beer on him. I don't think it's the right thing to do, but I think there's a segment of people, the fan base, that probably were happy with it.
I think it's shades of Mark Cuban, except way worse.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a marketing nightmare, I imagine, for the front office.
Yeah, and it could escalate later. So right now,
Lawsuits.
it's just throwing, liquid, but you don't know how it's going to go from
Fist,
there.
shoe.
Well, not only that, people love to sue. And
Yeah.
I got an ice cube in my eye. Or,
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I'm sure there's
I can't
something's
sleep.
happening. We don't know about that yet. I'm sure something will be coming out about it. So,
David Tepper. We're going to have to look that up.
Yeah.
We'll stay tuned on that.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
You have any interesting HR stories that have been
I
memorable?
know you were kind of asking me about that. A lot of funny things we see on social, because before we hire somebody, we used to do a social check because, as an accounting firm, we had to make sure that, our people that are going out to serve our clients are, respectable, in the community and out facing in their brand. And a lot of crazy stuff we saw on social pictures and stuff where, like, you got to take them down, or, also questions if we should definitely hire them. That could be something, if you're writing certain things out there, everybody gets to see. So we have to remember that,
How do you approach those situations, especially because you got politics? That's kind of moved into that
Yeah, you're
stratosphere as well. So, like, where do you draw the line?
Yeah, I think every company's different, and they have to have their own thoughts and opinions on things. Politics is tough. I wouldn't probably be there. It's more kind of, unless it's really, very extreme politics, and, we feel it's not within our brand, then maybe that would be something that we would say no to somebody. I think it's more, like hateful things or different other things like that. That's right away off the cuff. Or if we see somebody, showing too much of themselves or something along those lines, because our clients see that. You have to have a certain appearance, especially if you're an executive or working for a big firm or anywhere, actually, because you want to make sure you're representing yourself in the best way possible. So
We've talked about that before, too, with aesthetics. Like the Yankees, you're not allowed to have a beard or, long hair.
You realize what this means, right?
What?
We are never doing another thing in our lives. This is our career for the rest of our lives.
Yeah, because they're going to come back and you have it all in
I'm
video.
okay with that. I mean, we've done good for 20 years. I think.
The internet's forever.
Well, the great thing is, like, I see people hiring people with, tattoos, piercings. That now is, totally acceptable. You can be yourself. I got to say, 10 years ago, we weren't hiring like that. So I got to say, things have changed dramatically.
Tell her about Donna.
That's what I was just.
Yeah.
So we were talking about this the other day, that, like, how HR and a company culture can evolve so much. So 15 years ago, if you went next door, Keith's mother, who I consider like my mother as well, we love her. If she'd go and get her hair done, if you walked in, if there was one person in the office that didn't say something about that, they were in trouble. Now it's almost the opposite way.
If you say something now, it's sexual harassment.
Exactly.
Too much.
What was the catalyst? When do you think? When can you put it? If you were to put your thumb on it, give me a time frame when you think that started to happen and why.
Well, I think with the push of diversity training and other things have come out. I think the Me Too movement has a big thing to do with the compliments and way people act towards each other in the workplace. I think they're big things that, really change dynamics. And I just think changing of the times of people being more open. Our generations change, right? Different generations come into the workforce and different ones come out. We're in a kind of crazy time. We have like 5 generations working right now.
Yes.
Like, so you have really young and extremely old that are still staying in the workforce because, we love their experience. Yeah. People are living longer.
Yeah.
So it's just so interesting. So that's why it's so hard in the workplace. You have all these people that like to work a different way and like to communicate a different way because of their generation. And we got to figure it out together and see how we can get past it and be better together.
It's so true, because you could have an individual that was raised by people that came out of the Depression in the World War II, and then you have like our kids that are like, they don't even understand what they went through as far as recession. They were born with a silver spoon in their mouth as far as us taking care of them and spoiling them. And now you got these worlds colliding, and we're almost stuck in the middle having to bridge that gap. It's interesting because I feel like I like doing both. I feel like we have tendencies from both sides. to help us
100%.
stay relevant as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah,
But it
absolutely.
is interesting time frame. There is a lot of, I didn't think about that. There's many generations now in
Yeah.
the workforce.
That actually reminds me of something. I went out to a job site a few weeks ago and met a contractor out there. It was an older gentleman, which this shocked me. And he made reference to a joke that we had made in one of our pieces of content. And I said, "You saw that?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "I watch all your videos." I said, "Really?"
How old?
I would say, late 60s.
Wow. That's strong.
Oh, late 60s already had a really rough life. It's one of those two.
Or a good life, depending how you look at it.
So I said, "So you watch everything? Podcasts, everything?" "Oh, yeah." So, okay. Well, what do you think of it? "Oh, it's okay." He said, "Okay." He goes, "You kind of swear too much." He said, "I swear too much?" He says, "Yeah, it's not professional." I mean, there's that
Yeah.
age gap, right? So I said, "Let me ask you something. Why did you date your wife before you got married?" "Well, that's what you're supposed to do." We said, "Yeah, but why?" "Well, I wanted to get to know her." He said, "So you wanted to know who the real person was?" I grew up playing hockey, going to Catholic school. Swearing's kind of in my blood. So wouldn't you agree that businesses are built on relationships? If you're going to get in a relationship, wouldn't you want to know the genuine person? So I'm giving you the genuine right from the
That's
beginning.
interesting. I like that, Jay.
So you're not holding back, Jay, at all. You're being yourself.
That's right.
As you should be. I
Yeah.
would promote that 100%.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah. I don't have I know there's a school of people that have, cursing. My grandfather used to say, "Keith, I don't say that word. Back when I was a kid, we just did it." And I'm like, okay, well, we can't do that. But I said, I was always around swearing. I like to swear, and I also think it adds a certain type of emphasis. Of course, context is driven around this. There's a time and place for everything. But I don't think it's as bad as what people from previous generations make it out to be. I feel like you can add, if I said, "Geez, we did this great podcast with Melissa," if I said, "We just had this fucking awesome podcast with Melissa," to me, it's like, wow, this must be really good.
Yeah.
You're willing to swear.
Well, if you look at even like television shows over time, like as we were growing up, I remember when The Simpsons first came out and it was, "I'm Bart Simpson. Who the hell are you?" And we're like, "Oh my God, a cartoon just said that?" And now it's like anything goes,
Yeah.
even on regular
You're right.
cable television.
Things have evolved and changed dramatically.
Yeah.
We've seen so much and change.
How has
know?
the social media helped your business?
It's been amazing. I think it's another area that people can see my thought leadership and know a little bit more about what I do and what I'm about. So I think I'm trying to show myself, my true self, on social media as much as I can. So
What about your charities? Do you do community outreach, or what? Is there a specific? All charities are good. We all know
yeah,
that.
of course. One that I'm on the board of that I'm really passionate about is called Biz Kids. They hold little expos, big expos, and gives prizes to children that want to be entrepreneurs, and they help them with building their business.
So when you say expo, they have a little business and they have an expo where they, like a home show where they set up their stands and
Absolutely, and then people come and buy their items, and these
That's
kids
cool.
do amazing, and they are very creative. They're selling everything under the sun, making things. It's unbelievable. I wish I did that when I was younger. I think it would have made me even a better entrepreneur and professional right now. So,
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really good.
I wouldn't have had to worry about selling blow pops and Hershey bars in study class and getting detention.
Selling what?
Yeah, suckers.
Okay.
When's the next Biz Kids Expo?
You know what? It's coming up in February, so I don't know the exact.
Is there a
date.
website?
Yeah, there's a website. I think it's bizkids.com. So
Google bizkidsnaples.com. Something will come up.
Exactly. You'll find it. JD Rabali is, running it, and he's doing an amazing job and amazing events. These kids, we have like at least 60 kids sometimes that come out and sell things, and sometimes more. So it's pretty amazing.
That's
You should check it out.
unbelievable.
Come and support them.
Where can people, if there's an entrepreneur or leader that's kind of plateaued and wants to, get some outside, non-biased advice from a coach or an executive leader, tutor, how could people get a hold of you?
Yeah, I have a website called inspirebigdreams.com, Melissa Severance on social channels, and have YouTube as well. Not so many videos like you guys, but starting to get out there. My email is melissa@inspirebigdreams.com. Very easy. Reach out anytime. And on my website, there is a link to get on my calendar as well. Very easy.
What's your favorite social media platform?
For me, it's LinkedIn. I guess because it's a little bit more business focused, and it seems like a lot of my contacts communicate through there. They actually message me in there instead of texting me, even though they have my phone number. So yeah, I love it. So LinkedIn, but of course I'm on the Instagram and I still do Facebook. I think Facebook's really big in Southwest Florida still. So I think you have to be on all of them actually to really show your presence, because people gravitate to one or the other. So
Jay, you got any closing questions for Miss Melissa?
No, I think you've covered it all.
No, I really appreciate the.
And the next disrupt.
Oh yeah,
When's the next disrupt?
Yeah, so I have that workshop, the deeper dive from some of the speakers that talked at the first two events. That's coming up on February 1st at the Vineyards. It's from 11 to 6, so it's a lunch, content, and a happy hour at the end. So come out for that.
Clubhouse?
Yeah, at the clubhouse.
Ooh.
Yeah, nice. I
That's
always I
bougie.
love seeing the golf course outside and everything along those lines. And then Disrupt 3.0, the third one of our signature events, is going to be on April 10th, 4:30 to 8:30. So there's some networking with vendors. There's the amazing TED Talks by at least 12 speakers. And then
Can you release any of the speakers' names yet?
I think we should.
Who's one of the ones?
I think we have one in this room right
Let's
now.
go!
So Keith is going to be one of our speakers. I'm really excited. Our first announcement of our Disrupt 3.0 speaker. So
Am I allowed to swear?
Maybe
I don't
a little.
have to.
People do. So it's supposed to be disruptive. So if you look at other videos in the past from other places, people have cursed. So I think you might be able to do that totally fine.
It's called disrupt. The fact that I'm even asking kind of goes against the name of this.
Exactly.
No.
So we're excited to have you on stage. Thank you for, creating some great content and being on
Can't
stage
wait.
for us. I can't wait.
And
Me
where,
too.
Where does one go to register for those events?
So I have on my website there is both links, but I created a link for each of them. But on my website there is a page for Disrupt HR that have links to both of them too.
I'm going to ask Melissa to send me in an email all those, and we'll put them in the bio of this podcast.
That'd
that
be
way,
amazing.
anybody that
Thank
sees
you.
this can contact her.
Perfect.
And we'd be happy to give you a referral.
Yeah, and then I have a Facebook page for Disrupt and a LinkedIn page for Disrupt as well too.
So if they want to hire you for speaking events, podcasts, media, they can reach you through your website.
Coaching, HR consulting, they can come to me. And if you would like to speak at Disrupt HR, please come out. And then I have some sponsor spots as well too. So we have, almost 300 people coming. So it's a great way to get in front of executives, HR professionals, and entrepreneurs.
Well, because we're involved now, we're going to promote the shit out of it. Maybe we'll get
thanks.
500 people there.
I hope so. Hey, the room can, I think, go to 4 something maybe.
Yeah, I'm hoping to get so
Standing
many
room.
people that the fire department comes and wants to shut it down because there's just too many people.
I would love that. Let's
cool.
do it. Let's
Yeah.
do it. More the merrier,
Let's
right?
disrupt it.
Let's disrupt.
All right. Well, thank you again. Please,
Thank you,
everybody,
guys.
if you like what you saw here, don't forget to alert and subscribe to the Glass Guys YouTube channel. Stay tuned. Thank you.